Yes, friends. In this next video, previous video, we will show for the macro custom formatting. In this video, we have to show for a different functionality with we can use it is with macro also. First, what is the option will be available in this filter, so we can easily use this filter option. First, the shortcut keys filter is Control Shift 10. What is disadvantage of the filter? If any data you are filtering it, for example, if I am a subject 1 and number filter greater than this value, if greater than this value is 50, then it will be highlighted. It will be show that the 100, 80 value, it will be show that. But what is the disadvantage of the filter is whenever the value is changed in future, at that time filtering value only for show this one. So we have to clear filter, and whenever the filter is clearing, at that time value is show for that. So make sure that you have to filtering this value. You can use this value on the basis of filtering this value. When we have a filter this value, uh, at that time we have to particularly use this value. We have to filter. Now if we will change this value, change this filter value, it will be change the filter value. For example, clear filter. At that time filtering value is clear. This is for example, if I am changing here 150, then if we will greater than this value number filter, and greater than this value, if greater than this value is greater than 50, then okay, then the value is 100, 80, 80 and 150. Now you can see here, whenever the data is changed, at that time value will be changed. Now at that position we will use the conditional formatting, because the main disadvantage of the filter is filter applicable the same position, it is not applicable the different position. So our basic data it will be changed, our basic part data at the change, and we have two changes for data. On this basis we have to particular data, if it is data is a change, then we cannot show the data, we cannot at least check our origin data also. Now the connection, if I'm adding the connection, yes, connection it will be used for the text file, Excel file, Word file and access file. You can use the any of this file, you can use this file. For example, I put the connection, right? Now you check the property first. Yes, the connection, whenever you are using this connection file, at that time it is very useful for your side. Whenever the tally data is coming from the Excel, for example, tally all the balance sheet is coming from the Excel file. At that time, if tally balance sheet is changed, tally data is changed, uh, then we can change the data. So if it is a change the data on every basis, we have to refresh the data when opening the file and refresh every the seconds. So once the data is coming from the tally file, once the data is coming from the access file, once the data is coming from the Excel file, at that time whenever the data is coming from the different parts of whenever the balance sheet is refreshed, whenever the tally data to coming from the Excel, all the lasers value, all the opening balance, closing balance value is coming from your side. So every refresh for 60 minutes, and whenever the you can put out its value 60 minutes, 50 minutes, 40 minutes, 30 minutes, you can put the any value here, but you can put it, right? So you have to refresh your data on this basic property. Then we have to add this, add first student, open this file and close this file. Now we want to connection this property, this is for students and property, and refresh this file. We have to want to refresh all or refresh. connection is not usable this workbook, we can add this connection. Add here is our connection file. Browse the file. We have a login file. We have a open this file first. Dot example. If we have a blank, if it is a blank file, then we cannot open this file. And if you want to add this file, add this file. We want to add it. If you want to remove this file. And property value, yes, basically you have to add the property value. If you want to add this, you can add this value and close this value. The workbook connection with this file is automatically created. So now you have to clear idea about this. What is the shortcut key about the filtering? Whenever you can use Control Shift L, this is a shortcut key. Whenever you are doing with shortcut data, you have to put out with this shortcut data. So make sure that you have to put out this value. On the basis of this value, we have to add something, we have to delete something, and we have to using the filter with a multiple criteria. You can use this filter with a multiple criteria. So you can use this filtering this value. If you have to filter this value, on the basis of this value, we have to done with the 5. Now what do you mean by the advanced filter? Yes. What do you mean by the first advanced filter? This is the advanced filter. What is the difference between filter and advanced filter? Right? So we have a clear idea about this one. Advanced filter and filter is very different. The main difference between advanced filter and filter is you can say that here you can say that advanced filter all the data is putting into the next location, putting into the next location if it is your origin data in sheet number 1 and your result data you want to in a sheet number 2. So your original data is not changed. That's why we can use this data. On the basis of this value, we have to add this value, roll number, subject 1, subject 2, and subject 3. So if you want to add this data on the basis of particular data is not changed and your location value in a different place. So whenever our criteria value is changed, at that time we have to create every time new advanced filter. This is a disadvantage of the filter. For example, first I am put out the value is roll number 1. Then we want to search the roll number 1. At that time we have to create an advanced filter. For second time, if you want to create a roll number 3, then we create a roll number 3 second advanced filter. So every time we can create the new advanced filter. So this is a disadvantage of this value. This is basically disadvantage this value for the on the basis of we want to create an advanced filter. And if you want to create an advanced filter, we want to create this one. So advanced filter is basically your data put out into next location. For example, if you want to use this roll number and give for the advanced filter, so we want to use the advanced filter with the macro also, because every process you have to do the same process, and the same process you are doing with the multiple times. This is called a time consuming. Whenever you are doing with the same process multiple times, at that time you have to use this macro also. So we have to put the multiple macro also. Now, so if you want to use the advanced filter for roll number subject 1 subject 2, for example, we want to put here roll number subject 1 and subject 2. And if you want to, this is your advanced filter. Advanced filter we will applicable from here. Advanced, copy to another location. This is a list of range of data. This is list of range of data. Criteria range. This is your criteria range. And third is your copy to. For example, I will give the copies here. Then okay. The exact range are missing from infill name. Roll number, subject 1, subject 2. This is only 4 fields. Now we want to go for the advanced filter second time. List of range of data. This is a list of range of data. We want to use this list of range of data. Then criteria range. Here is our criteria range. and copy to, this is only 4 value we want to copy the exact range of data, and okay, now you can see here this is exact range of data which you want to copy this value. If you want to only for 2 criterias, if you want to use this less than value, and if you want to put here greater than 50 value, now we want to use this value greater than 50, then we have to put out the second. First we will all are the clear all value, for example home, and clear all value, and we want to put its data advanced filter. In the advanced filter, copy to another location. This is a list of range of data, this is a list of range of data. Then criteria range, here is our criteria range, this is your criteria range, and this is copied to A to D1, and okay, now you can see here greater than 50 value 1, this is not available, greater than 50 and 1. Now we want to create a second time, this is a greater than 50, roll number is not 1, roll number any will be allowed it. So every time we want to create next to next advanced filter, so this is very time consuming, every time we have to same process to repeated times. So this is a disadvantage basically of this value. For example, if we are putting here advanced filter, copy to another location, list of range of data, this is list of range of data. Here is a criteria range, here is our criteria range, this is your criteria range, and here is our value, copy to another location, and okay. Now you can see here this is value. Now if you want to put out, this is called and criteria. Whenever I am putting 1 and greater than 50, this is called as a and criteria. If I am putting or criteria, it's been that either 1 either greater than 50, it will be allowed it. This is using from your Excel side, yes, this is definitely use this. We want to use this Excel side. So if you want to put the or reference, we have to put this, and if you want to put the and reference, we have to put this. If we have a here is a roll number. Data, go for the advanced filter. In this advanced filter, first is a list of range of data. For example, criteria range. Here is our criteria range. For example, here is our criteria range. And give the copy to another location. Now you can see there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the values coming because one value is not greater than 50, but this is called OR value. So mainly this is a difference between AND operator, OR operator, filter, and advanced filter. 90% situation you is using from the filter, because filter is our changing our origin data, but if you don't have any issue with the changing of origin data, then you can use this the filter. But whenever you are using with the filtering of the data on the basis of the particular value, so we have to use this value. Now make sure that you have to put out this value on the basis of this one value. We have to create a new advanced filter data. So now you have to create this advanced filter, this value. So mainly difference between filter and advanced filter with the of using of this option. So now you can use this advanced filter with this value. So you can use this value on the basis of advanced filter. So if you want to use this advanced filter with your macro, so if it is useful. Now, uh, we want to write down anything. For example, we only for using this number of data only. If anything is written from here, then it will be clearing this side. Then we want to also create a macro. So macro is useful on basically when we put out the value on the different side also, then it is also useful for different side. For example, if I put out the simple macro here, for example, if you want to do this, view, record macro, macro number 1, and okay. Go for the sheet number 3, select all value, and clear all, right? Here is a no any data, so clearing or not, you have not clear idea, but we can create the macro of clear all. We can create the macro of clear contain, but if here we can clear the macro of clear all, so everything will be clear, right? Stop recording. We want to go for the insert and shape. We want to add the submit button. If we want to use this data, go for the data part, advanced filter, copy to another location, list of range of data. Here is a list of range of data. Then criteria range. Here is our criteria. We cannot create any criteria. So first we will create the criteria. We want to create a criteria. Subject 1, any value is not equal to 50. Here the two places is value is 50. Now we want to use this. Go for the advanced option, copy to another location, list of range of data. Here is a list of range of data. Here is a criteria range. Here is your criteria range. Then copy to. Now you can see here, this is a not a value of the less than 50. Now we have to our second criteria is subject to not equal to 50. So at that time we have to clear this value and we have to put out the new criteria. So if you want to write down, assign the macro and macro number 1 here. Now we will put out this value, then clear all. So we have to not every time clear the sheet. Right, Fritz? So we have to create only one time. Using of one time, we have to create this file. On the basis of this file, we have to clear all data. Whenever we're clearing our data, at that time, we have to clear all the value. On the basis of clearing all the value, we have to clear all this data. So make sure that whenever you are clearing on this data, you have to particular value. On the basis of this value, we have not particular every time clear the data, clear data. So same as it is, we will use the advanced filter on this option also. So whenever I'm using the advanced filter on this option, we have to useful whenever you are doing with everything with your file, anything with your file. So we have to use this. So now make sure that we have to do this with using of macro also. We can create the small macro also. So we have to create this macro. On the basis of this macro, we can do this the value. So now we want to create clear all macro. Here is a clear all. So the sheet is clear. So we can easily now we will put out this value to do the advanced filter, right? So here is our data. Now we want to click on this data and automatically create the chart, right? View, record macro. Macro number 2. Okay. Insert this value, columnar chart. We will clear this columnar chart and stop recording. Right, friends? Now, same data is available in this sheet also. Then it will be created or not. We want to check that. If you want to update in our data, then also it will be changeable. Now I'm clicking on this data. You can see here the value is changed and pivot table is created. Now you can see here the pivot table is automatically created. If you want to change this value is perfect or not, you can change the also data label show. Here is a data label, so you can show this data label. This is a value and this is a particular value. On the basis of this value, we want to change this value. If you want to change the value on the basis of this, we can change this value. If you want to update this value, for example 150, then pivot table is also changeable. Right, friends? Then after this is called as a pivot table, but the disadvantage is what? Whenever I'm creating this table, if you want to add something new value, then it will be created or not. We want to check this. It's oddly for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 6 and 7 value. If you want to add the slicer value, we can check this value. It will be added or not. Then we can also check this chart is also available or not. We can also do this chart. So if you want to use this value on the basis of the slicer value, you can put out this value on the slicer also. But here the value slicer is not coming from your side. So you have to use this slicer value. So we have to do this slicer value on the basis of this value. We have to do with everything with your chart value. So make sure that whenever you are adding with the chart with using of macro, we can add this data value. So we can add this value on the basis of the slicer value. So if you want to do this value, we can add this value. So this is a simple. Whenever you are adding something, at that time pivot table is created. This is called as VBA, was Visual Basics. Where is VBA? Whenever I'm doing for the developer tab, Visual Basics, this is called VBA. You can create your own function, own pivot table on the basics value. We can create all these things on your own basis, on your own basic. For example, I want to create the pivot table. From when we are updating the pivot table, it's automatically updated. At that time, we want to use this table, pivot table. But on the basis of the pivot table, we want to create a VBA. What is term VBA? You have know about the sum function. You have do the sum function from total objective value. We have to create a one function. It will be work from my side. If I am doing sum, average, minimum, maximum on one place, at that time we have to create your own data. This is called as a VBA. So make sure that whenever you are using with the VBA, you have to do with the exact part of this VBA. So you can do this the VBA functionality. But make sure that you have to know about the visual basics. This is all are the sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3 visual basics data. whenever I am putting this is Visual Basics this data, we have to lock the particular data, lock the particular sheet. You want to do this the Virtual Basics data, we have create your own pivot table, because there are lots of limitation when you are using with a recording with your pivot table. There are lots of limitation, right? So all the data have a same number of field at that time pivot table is used, different number of field at that time pivot table is not used. This is all are the limitation from your side. Whenever a limitation is coming at that time, we have a not to create our own priority own pivot table. So make sure that we have not a particular limitation. For example, if I am doing with view macro, with a record macro, if I'm doing with a macro number 3 and insert and go for the format table, format as a table, for example, and my table as a header value, right? When we are a stop recording, right? Now we want to create this one. We have a 7, 8, 9, 10, and we want to use this value and put out this value here also. If you want to add this field is this one, right click, assign macro, and we want to use the macro number 3. If you want to use this macro number 3, you can see here this is converted to the table, but only for 6 or only for 7. Selected method range class is not identified, so it will be not identified from your side. So this is a disadvantage from this value. So every time it will be debugging this value and change the data source. If you want to change your data source, it will be working. Otherwise, else it will be not working. Pivot table is created, design is created. But the problem is that what? Problem is that it will be not created from the whole the data. Design and convert to the range. For example, it will convert to the range, and I put out into the table, because here is you know about that here is a table from 1 to 7, and here is a table data range is changeable. So at that time, if you are changeable from your data and it will be overlapping with your data, the range value it will be changed. So this is called an error. If you are solving this error, then you can solve it. If you are not solving this error, then you can go for the view tab, macro, then deleted this macro. No other option is available. If you know about the VBA, you can solve it. If you don't know about the VBA, you can't solve this option. So make sure that every places, if you are solving this option, you have to put out this option in a right place. So make sure that if it is a right place, then you have to put this option in right place, and right you can do with the right places, so you can use this. So this is called as a limitation of macro. You can use not every option with using of macro, but yes, if you want to use the VBA at that time, you can using with VBA with this macro. So you can use this VBA with the macro, and you can do the your personal chart, personal pivot table. You can do everything with your table and data. So make sure that if you want to use this data and pivot table, you can use this. If you don't use this, then you can use the simple macro. If it is only simple functionality, you can use this. Then you can use the simple function with using of macro. If you want to use the complicated, then you will go for the developer tab. On the developer tab, Visual Basics is available. On the basis of Visual Basics, you can do with everything with your chart and label value. So you can use this chart and label value. So we can do this chart and label value on the basis of this value. We can easily do that value. If you want to use the complicated this value, so if you want to use the complicated this value, we can do this complications. But with using of VBA, this is possible. Without use of VBA, this is not a possible from your side. So make sure that you have to clear idea about what is the use of macro, which places you are be put into the macro, which places you are not putting into the macro. This is a basic chart whichever you will be use the macro. You know about that pivot table is not working with the macro. If you use the simple color formatting, number, textual file, then you will be use this macro. Okay, friends, we will discuss in the next macro in the next lecture.